Welcome to the Explainer. So, everybody agrees that AI is the future, right? Especially the US and China. But here's the thing. When you get to the ultimate prize, artificial general intelligence, or AGI, it's like they're living on two different planets. Today, we're going to figure out why. In Washington, you hear it constantly, this obsession with an AI race, this idea that whoever gets to AGI first basically wins the future. But then you look at Beijing's official statements, their actual policy papers, and that sense of a desperate sprint to a single finish line, it's just not there. And that difference is the big puzzle we're going to solve today. And this slide, right here, this gets to the absolute core of it. In the US, the framing is almost apocalyptic. AGI is the bomb, a winner-take-all weapon that could just flip the global power structure on its head. But in China, they talk about it as a strategic technology, something more like electricity or the internet, a force that will power a whole new industrial revolution. It's a completely different way of seeing the world. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the official divide. Then, we'll dive into how a simple translation might be changing everything. We'll explore the wild disconnect inside China, ask why Beijing doesn't seem to be in a rush, and finally, consider that maybe this isn't a race at all. Okay, first up, the Great AGI Divide. Let's really dig into what the two governments are actually saying out loud, because, well, they're not even in the same ballpark. So in the US, pretty much the entire conversation is driven by this fear of an intelligence explosion. The nightmare scenario is that someone, somewhere, builds an AGI that can start improving itself, getting smarter and smarter, faster and faster, all on its own. The thinking goes that creates a lead that no one can ever catch up to. And that fear is why you see things like strict export controls on the most advanced AI chips. But then you look at China's massive, ambitious policy documents, and AGI is basically a ghost. Their huge 2017 AI plan, it's mentioned just once, kinda in passing. The more recent AI Plus initiative, which is all about applying AI everywhere, doesn't mention AGI at all. Even President Xi Jinping talks about AI as a driver of industry, but the term AGI just isn't part of his vocabulary. Now, here's where it gets really fascinating. This entire massive gap in strategy, it might just start with the words themselves. A simple choice in translation seems to reveal a completely different way of thinking. So when Chinese policy documents do talk about this kind of advanced AI, this is the term they use. 通用人工智能, pronounced 通用人工智能. And if you translate that literally, it doesn't mean artificial general intelligence, not in the way Silicon Valley means it. It translates to general purpose AI. And that little difference? Well, it's everything. And this is the whole shebang right here. When they say general purpose, they mean it like a tool. An AI that can be used for lots and lots of different tasks and industries. Think electricity. They're not talking about a self-aware, self-improving superintelligence that becomes a new form of life. It's a foundational, definitional difference. Okay, so that explains the government's view, but this is where the plot really thickens. Because if you step outside of government offices and listen to China's tech sector, you hear a completely different story. It's like two separate worlds. I mean, this contrast says it all. On one side, you have the government's very practical, sober focus on industry. But on the other, you've got China's biggest tech CEOs sounding almost exactly like their peers in Silicon Valley, talking openly about chasing down AGI. You really can't get much more direct than this. Liang Wenfeng, the founder of the AI company DeepSeek, just comes right out and says it in an interview, using the English letters, "Our destination is AGI. Zero ambiguity." And it's not a one-off. The CEO of Zhipu, another huge AI company in China, says their whole purpose isn't just about making products. He says, our original goal is to explore what AGI ultimately is. It's a mission, not just a business. And then there's this quote from Alibaba's CEO. It's absolutely stunning. He's not just talking about getting to AGI. He's already looking past it, to artificial superintelligence, ASI. And listen to his words. Capable of iterative self-improvement. That is the exact intelligence explosion concept that keeps policymakers up at night in DC. So what gives? You've got this massive gap between a private sector that's sprinting towards AGI and a government that seems to be, well, not. Why aren't they racing? The analysis points to three main reasons for Beijing's super practical, cautious approach. It really seems to boil down to three things. First, they're just skeptical that a true intelligence explosion is right around the corner. Second, they don't see this as a winner-take-all game. Their view is, hey, even if the US gets there first, we can copy it fast and catch up, kind of like they did with the internet or electric cars. And third, they keep coming back to this idea of AI as a general-purpose technology, a long-term economic revolution, not a short-term sprint. This image just captures their strategy in a nutshell. The government's focus is on using AI right now to solve real-world problems, stuff like healthcare, manufacturing, scientific research. They're playing the long game. They're trying to win a marathon of economic and social change, not a 100-meter dash for AGI. But okay, let's address the elephant in the room. What if this is all a brilliant deception, a big smokescreen for some secret Manhattan Project-style effort to build AGI behind closed doors? It's a totally fair question to ask, but if you look at their actions, not just their words, but what they're actually doing, the evidence just doesn't seem to support a secret sprint. Think about it. If you were in a secret, desperate race, what would you do? You'd be hoarding foreign AI chips like crazy, right? Not carefully balancing imports. You'd be trying to centralize all the country's computing power for one huge project. And you definitely wouldn't be encouraging your companies to share their best models via open source. Their actions just scream broad adoption, not secret weapon. So maybe the big takeaway here is that we're projecting our own fears and framing onto them. The whole world is asking, who's going to win the AGI race? But what if China's leadership isn't even asking that question? What if their question is much bigger? How can we use this powerful new technology to fundamentally win the 21st century? And if you're running a marathon, do you really care who wins the first sprint?